So, oh my gosh, that was such an intense episode. If you're not aware, the bags under my eyes are from staying up so late to finish it. It was a long episode, but very, very good. And the dinner, I'm gonna dive right into the dinner, was nothing like I expected it to be, and yet somehow pretty much everything I wanted it to be, if that makes sense. Me and my friend kept a running tally of various things that we thought were gonna happen throughout the dinner. So like every time Trent called Caleb Brent, every time someone threatened violence. First of all, very, 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 very impressed with Caleb and how he handled everything. Immediately when he got the letter, he was like, yeah, we'll go. Like there wasn't any moment of freezing or tensing, and I really thought, especially at the dinner, he would have those moments where he kind of froze. I thought he would have a moment of being kind of sent back there, but I think this cemented for me that Caleb has truly removed himself from the situation and moved on as best as he can, at least from Trent's tutelage. I do wish personally that he wouldn't be so hung up on Astrid. I get that she's a very important person to him, and there's obviously that hope that they can redeem her. However, I don't see it. I said this to my friend when I was watching it with her, and she agrees that we both don't trust Astrid, and I think it's too convenient that the person that he was in love with is also trying to plot behind Trent's back, and someone that has been in this environment for so long, yet we saw her, she really came across as very meek and demure for the most part, and seemed very uncomfortable with like her body language and all that. I just don't believe that. I don't believe someone could act that way and survive this place for that long. Like, I really just think she is more under Trent than we realize. And I know some people are like, oh, like, redemption arc for Astrid, but I just don't see it. I think she's going to be Caleb's weak spot in this whole thing, and he's going to think that he can bring her back over, and I just don't think it's going to happen. I think, especially, again, like, I just go back to how long she's been there, and at the end when she was asking Caleb kind of subtly, like, if he really meant what he said when he said he was going to kill Trent, and then Caleb was like, yeah, I do. And she was like, we'll race you to the top, meaning like, we'll see who gets there first. She was on the campus, and the owl was flying around that everyone pretty much agrees is Trent's familiar. So I feel like she's not that dumb to have survived that long to say these kind of things out loud. And I know there was that moment of like, Caleb kind of called out and being like, oh, I thought like you were being prepared for the next seat or whatever, and Trent seemed like, oh, interesting that you would say that, and she was like, stop talking. If it does turn out to be true, I think that's like weak characterization. She wears her uncomfortability very openly, I think, and I don't think someone like that could survive for this long, and I also don't think Trent would want to associate himself with someone like that. Like, these are his most prized pupils, he said, and I just don't see how Astrid lives up to that. I mean, Edwulf, he's a trip, isn't he? I loved him. I think if anyone, he would be the one that we could convince to go to our side, because I feel like he just kind of needs a leader, someone to follow. So I feel like if you convinced him that your side was better, like, he would be like, oh, okay, cool, then I'll come. But I just, yeah, I don't trust Astrid at all, and I do not buy for a second the kind of persona she puts on of this like meek, oh, I have magic, but like I don't want to speak, like, but like it just felt weird, especially how there were moments when Ed would defer to her before answering questions. Like, he would look at her before he said something and wait to see her reaction. I just don't buy it. I don't buy Astrid for a freaking second, and I'm sad that that seems to be Caleb's weak spot. However, Trent, he's definitely done with Trent. I am very, 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 very concerned about Trent. I do think, I saw in the chat, and I agree, this is my current theory, he wants Caleb to kill him. I don't know if he wants Caleb to kill him so then he can arrest Caleb, or Caleb gets arrested. He wouldn't be able to arrest him, he's dead, but so Caleb gets arrested for it and then winds back up where in jail, you know, all like the whole cycle all over again. Personally, for me, I think that they have been studying dudamancy. They have had a beacon. I think they know about this whole idea of consecration and when you die, your soul going into another body. I think they know about that, and I think they are trying to experiment personally with putting Trent's soul into Caleb's body, because Trent is getting old and Caleb is young and getting more powerful and stronger, and I think that's where they're leaning towards, and I think it would make sense with the experimentation and everything. And people were even saying that Edwulf had used dudamancy at the end when he pulled the wine bottle out of thin air. So obviously they're aware of it, and I think that would make a lot more sense of why, because I don't think Trent is someone that would take a slight easily, and Caleb turned his back completely, continually on the ideas, and the kind of basis of who Trent is and what he represents. I don't think Trent would forgive that as easily as being like, oh, blah, 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 like, just come back and it'll be fine. Like, I think he truly wants... He's always been invested not in Caleb, but in Caleb's power. So you have to look at what does he gain by getting Caleb back. Not Caleb himself, not Caleb the one who questions and wants to do good things and won't blindly follow. But if he has the power that Caleb has in the body without having to worry about that, I think that would make a lot of sense. And then it would also kind of go along with this theme that we've had with Yasha too previously of people being taken over. I also will point out that I know they were using the Ash heart like to manipulate him, I guess, and be like, you know, like, we were the ones that freed you. I don't buy that for a second, honestly. I think it's more like they found out who freed him and then killed that person and are now retroactively being like, oh, it was us all along. Because that's what I would do if I was in Trent's position, you know? Like, it's this moment where Caleb's like, I got my life back. Like, this person was really nice to me. So, of course, like, Trent is going to want to align himself with this person because now it goes back to that whole, like, we gave you this pain and then we lifted you from it. And I loved Caduceus and Beau's faces the whole time that Trent was going off about his just manipulative shite, about just how pain made him stronger and how Caleb is who he is today because of Trent. And side note too, this is a game, but if you have anyone in your life that is a manipulative a-hole like that and says basically that like you owe them for something or that you wouldn't be where you are today if it weren't for them, cut them out of your life. That is not a healthy relationship, and you could see that especially on Beau, who has kind of dealt with that her own, and Caduceus, who's kind of like, this is super messed up. That's guilt. That's not love. The best kind of parents and the best kind of people want you to prosper and grow on your own and are proud of your success for what you did. What you want when you love someone is to see them prosper and grow and to help them along their way, but for them to do it themselves and find their own path. And especially the fact that it's pain that he's saying and how he's basically saying the greatest wizards of all time have suffered something and he has gone through something great, so Caleb is going to be a great wizard. That's complete bullshit. And I think that goes back to the tragic hero arc of like true heroes are tragic, and that's not true at all. I think tragedy gets romanticized a lot more and pain making us stronger, but it's not being broken that makes you stronger. It's not the aspect of getting torn to pieces. It's the building yourself back up and mending. That's the thing that's important, and that's what makes people strong and a survivor. Caleb has done that piece by piece by himself, and with the 9 he has become stronger and he has mended those broken pieces. He's not the same Caleb he was. He's not Bren, and he's never going back to that. You could just tell on Caduceus and Beau's face that they were like, fudge this. And especially I think I mostly thought Veth and Jester were going to be the ones to protect him and kind of defend him. Did love, I will say, the moment when Veth like ran for the chair that Edwulf was going for and took it, and he was just like, ugh. And then Yasha took the next chair. Like, I was just waiting for it to go on and on. That was peak. Like, they are just those assholes at a party that show up and are like, we're defending our friend, and like they found fault with everything. Loved it so much. But Caduceus' line at the end, I feel like really nothing super rattled Trent. I feel like he has a plan. And I do also partly agree with what Caduceus says about how he's scrambling. I do think he's scrambling because I don't think he thought Caleb would be a part of his plan like this, and now he's trying to force whatever he's trying to force, if it's taking over Caleb's body, whatever. But I do think the only moment he seemed truly, like, not in control was when Caduceus stood up and was like, I am gonna give you a gift. And when he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is it? Like, is it gonna be something like the Dust of Deliciousness? And he was just like, you're a fool. I was like, oh my gosh. And he was like, you think pain and brokenness is what makes people stronger and great, but really it's love, and you have no one that loves you. And he had that great line that was like, I hope you find someone who mourns you someday, respectfully. Like, it was just, you could tell that Trent like just immediately left. Like, he didn't stick around even to hear any more of it, and it was just Caduceus, man. Caduceus, my freaking boy. I also will say everything that happened afterwards, like at the bar and stuff, when Beau was kind of putting stuff together about the sea and Halas and all that. Guys, I tried my best, but it was late and I was getting tired, so it wasn't all connecting. But I think the most interesting thing I took away from it was, I know they're looking in like the 9 eyes and all this, the thing that was most interesting to me, and I think Travis was the one that kind of perked up and was like, oh, like, definitely, like, they all made the connection, but he verbally made the connection between Cree, the girl they're looking for, who worked with Molly when he was Lucian, blah, blah, blah. She was a blood cleric, or she is a blood cleric, and I think the fact that she's a blood cleric and Molly Mock was a blood hunter, that's too big to be a coincidence. So there's definitely something there, and I'm very interested, especially if we go see The Gentleman. I want to see Jester with her dad so bad and see how she like parent traps her mom, you know, because her mom was like, oh, just casually mention me if he asks, you know, real casual, just that I'm doing good. And also, like, I assumed Lady Duragna was like not a terrible person. Like, I thought, yeah, she works for the Assembly, but like is one of the better ones on it, but now it turns out that she's probably not. And they're gonna find an artifact that they're not gonna want to hand over to her because she'll use it for bad things, and then they're gonna get hunted down by her or something like that. Like these tomb, what were they calling it? They weren't Tomb Raiders, they were tomb, something with a T too. I don't know. Like I said, I was super tired towards the end, but it's definitely some interesting connections, and I always love when Marisha, especially like as Bo, figures out these connections, because she's just got so many notebooks and it works for her character. When Marisha's throwing notebooks around and trying to like match things up, that's also Bo, and I think it was just really fun because you can see how excited she gets to figure it out all together, and it was really exciting. So this episode was definitely a doozy, guys. It was a lot. It was interesting, I think, to see Trent as exactly how I thought he would be, just a manipulative a-hole that thinks that breaking people down is what makes them stronger and isn't sorry for anything he did. I think the most interesting thing is what he said about Caleb's parents, how they knew and were like okay with this. I wonder if that's true. I know everyone was trying to insight check him, but everyone said that he probably had that spell, I think it's glib, that basically makes it impossible to tell if he's lying or not. And I also agree with what Bo said, where the best liars tell the truth, because I think he was very deliberate in being like in his answers. Like when Ford asked about the beacon and he was like, oh, like only the one you saw, like there's a million different ways that you could answer that. So I think he's telling the truth by omitting things, you know? So overall, a really great episode. I can't wait to see Pumat and the Gentleman and everyone else in Zadash when we go back. So yeah, if you've seen this episode, please feel free to leave your thoughts about it, what you think about Astrid, if you trust her or not, what you think about Trent, what his plan for Caleb is, and all that. Also make sure this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!